There we go.
Alright, so hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's me, Nokokadom, with a friend who's going to introduce himself. So today we're going to talk about the pain. So before that, please don't forget to subscribe, like and share. You introduce yourself, sir.
Okay, so my name is Christopher Brooks. I am from Stellenbosch. I've lived in Stellenbosch my whole life. And I am a minister
Yep.
at a local church in Addis Valley. And yeah, I am turning 35 this year. And yeah, I don't know what more I should say.
Okay, no, it's fine. So this conversation was inspired by the chat we had last week,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
felt that we need to talk about this. So all of us are going to go through some pain,
Yeah.
or are in pain, experiencing pain. And for me, currently, I am going through the pain of losing people, pain of death, pain of loss, and all that. And it's hard. It's hard. So as we're chatting last week on our coffee date, I was such a mess, and I am still broken. One of the things you said actually last week, you said um we need to talk while you are in pain, and also, what is this thing you said? Something. Oh, I said I feel so weak, and then you said, what does the Bible say about when we are weak?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I remember that the Bible says when we are weak, then we are strong. So based on that, I know it's a season. I was just
Yeah.
saying I think it's a season. Then you
Yeah.
said it is a season
It is a season.
of healing. Guys, we need to expose the pain and different pains we are going through.
Yeah.
Some are going through divorce, some are going through death, pain, some
Yeah.
are going through, it's just a mess. And the COVID is not getting better, or
Yeah.
whatever. So we are going through pain, and we are broken.
Yeah.
We are broken. As we are sitting here, we are both believers. We believe in God, we believe in Jesus, and we are Christians, but we are broken. So I want you to share with us, what does the pain, how do you deal with pain generally? How do you deal with pain?
Well, that's an interesting question, because growing up, you were never allowed to feel pain, I suppose. You were never allowed to express any emotion when it comes to something that hurts. I remember me coming from the soccer field, because I played soccer, and I was 15 years old, 15 and a half years old, and I started playing first in football. And when I got there was an older guy on the soccer field that we played against, and he literally hit my eyes, both eyes, with his elbows. And what happened was, I went home with these poop eyes. And when I got home, my father's words to me was, "You don't play soccer with your eyes closed." So that's what we've been taught when it comes to pain, and not just our physical pain, but our emotional pain. Like, if you express any emotion as a man, as a child of God, you you kind of get placed aside, or you're told that, get over it, you're stronger than this, all that words. I'm starting to understand that is toxic to the healing process. That hasn't helped any person, because at that stage I wasn't looking for any sympathy. It was just, yeah, I come home, and I literally got, in a sense, beat up on the soccer field. So yeah, I think that experience taught me, you don't come home talking about what you go through. You deal with it on your own, which isn't helpful in
So since then, since you were 15, that's how you tried to live. You never shared
yeah
pain.
yeah
Until when? When did you realize that this is toxic? This is
I think it's during this season of my life. I think we
So all these years you've been pretending to be strong. Put that brave face.
no, I don't think I pretended. That was just the reality of your life. You have to be strong. So it's not a
So
sense
being
of,
strong means don't not to share
yeah. Don't
what exactly is what we're going through.
yeah. Like
So that was your reality.
yeah, it is, and in a way it's still a reality that you deal with it because it's your problem, and ultimately that behavior goes with you because you've been taught that way, especially as a man in our culture, that men don't cry, men don't show emotion, men don't express how they feel, and because that is the narrative, the story that's being told to even us as as Christians, because that's the narrative. You go into your home, you go into your space where, so let me deal with this on my own and try to figure it out on my own. And the reality is, most of the pain that we go through, we cannot deal with it on our own. Like I'm reminded now of the story in the Bible where the four friends bring their friend to Jesus. Right? And they literally, because of the people in the room, they had to make a plan so that they can bring their friend to Jesus. The interesting thing is that Jesus tells the guy being healed that your friend's faith saved you. So I think there's that element as well, that you cannot always deal with it on your own. It's not healthy. It does not help anyone. It certainly doesn't help you. And that's why, especially during the season I'm in at the moment, you become bitter, you become frustrated, you lash out in areas where you find yourself sitting still after that, and you say to yourself, but that's not really me. But it's because of the things I'm dealt with, because of you've suppressed all of your emotions, the situations, and because you've done that, you can't get healed.
How can we deal with issues? Because for me, for instance, I don't know, we have different reactions. For me, like I said, death just kills me. I isolate myself. I don't want to be with people.
Yeah.
And I know it's not healthy, but I don't have strength to be among people, to be with people, and to talk about the pain I'm going through. So how can we deal with the pain in a right and godly way?
I think there needs to be mourning.
Okay, that process.
I think.
Do you even know when it's time, when that season is over, the season of mourning?
Like these.
Because I feel like sometimes we overstay in that place.
I completely agree. There's studies that show that after 2 weeks of you being in an extended period of crying and all of that, you have to stand up and get out of it. But mourning, in a sense, takes your whole life. I think you never really get over that thing. You live with it. It becomes better. You can then smile after that. But I think we have this tendency of, I've dealt with it and it's never coming back. And then the next situation happens and you react exactly the same. And because of that, that tells me I've not really dealt with whatever's here. So yeah, I think it is important that we deal with stuff, but the dealing happens when we face it.
So let's talk about you as a pastor now.
Yeah.
And Do you think that the church is fair towards pastors, or even to yourself? Are you open enough to the church when you are going through pain? Do you have that space? Are you allowed to be yourself when you are in pain? What's the reaction general?
Well, the reality is,
Because I'm concerned about the pastors.
well, the reality is pastors won't say it, but the reality is pastors aren't really allowed to show weakness, because because there's so many people that needs attention. There's so many people that needs your help, your intervention, because their relationships is broken, their financial stuff is broken, their children relationship is broken. Because of all of those things that's happening, as a pastor, you just have to go. So in most cases, pastors don't stand still. They don't have time to reflect. Now, I know there's certain denominations that, and I love that they create retreats for pastors where they can go and sit and go and talk. But I think as a reality, pastors in general are alone. You have to deal with whatever's happening in your life alone. Because also the church and the people inside of the congregation does not necessarily have the skill set to help.
Why? What are the challenges? Why they don't have?
I think the perception has been created that the pastor is the only person that should know.
Created by who?
By the church.
Okay.
Because if you look throughout church history, there's the perception that not even a perception, it was created that way, that people relied on the priest, relied on the minister, relied on...
Is that a human idea or it's God's idea?
No, it's human.
Yeah.
It's human. So because we want to have people dependent on pastors. Now that's another thing that pastors enjoy, because you like the attention. People need to come to us for the help.
So I'm asking this because I believe that church is supposed to be the hope of the community.
Yeah, it is.
And as believers, we're supposed to know better and do better.
Yeah.
And the truth is, there's chaos in church, and there's misunderstanding of God, Bible, and church. And I think we rely more on our traditions more than the word of God, because we learn from people.
Yeah.
Because Jesus wept, as you are saying that we are not allowed, pastors are not allowed, people, the whole congregation is dependent on the pastor. But then I'm reminded of the scripture that says Jesus wept.
Yeah.
He cried. But who told us this thing that we must not cry? Because Jesus cried.
Yeah. But it's the norms of society that became the norms of the church. And vice versa.
So the church now is influenced by the society.
Yes, and vice versa.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of stuff that happens in society that is to blame because of the church instituting those things. But then there's other aspects of society that plays a role in how certain narratives is told. Like, for instance, the men don't cry perception is not just a Xhosa thing or a colored thing or a white thing. It's for all men. Like, throughout the world, men struggle with this thing of you're supposed to be strong all the time. So because of that, you fall into this whole control thing. And the reality is, we as humans don't really have control over anything. But the perception that I have to be in control drives me to do stuff that might be ungodly, because in the back of my mind I'm sitting with this thing that I need to be in control. So then it goes back to our homes, where the man has to be in control of his house.
I was going to touch on that.
Or
because if the man is broken, if the man, like a male,
Yeah.
is broken, and then the man is supposed to be the head
Yeah.
of the house. And then how are you leading the home as a broken man?
But you can't.
But you must.
Exactly.
You
It's
must. You
exactly.
are a man.
You must. You are a man. That is
How
pres-
do you do that?
You don't. That's why so many homes are broken.
Because the man is broken.
The man is broken, and because he's broken, he can't have the authority that God has placed upon him. And because he's broken, he cannot lead in the loving way that he should. And because he's broken, the areas that he struggles with will continuously pop up in his life and in his relationship. So the church expects the man to lead his home. But the reality is, how do you lead your home if you can't lead yourself?
So what's the solution
I think
to this worldwide problem?
I think we need to talk about it first.
We need to start conversation and normalize.
Yeah,
that.
because ultimately men are dying. People are dying. Not just men. People are dying because there's no outlet. And the thing is, as we spoke last week, people are alive
Yes.
but dead.
Yeah, you spoke about Walking Dead.
Yeah, I think we all are in that space of you, because of the stuff that has happened in our lives, and the hurt, and the pain, and the continuous behavior, or the abuse, or whatever. We get to a stage where we walk, our eyes are open, but there's nothing happening in our lives. There's no elements of growth because we are dead. Or it might not be that you're completely dead, but there's areas in your lives that are, you can't tap into it because it doesn't exist anymore.
So one of the things that I want us to talk about is the issue of ancestors and Christianity,
Yeah.
and Bible and church and God. Recently I've lost people I love.
Yeah.
And since January I've lost my brother.
Yeah.
On the 10th of January, and I've recently lost someone I loved, Uakhona, and it's been hectic. And now I was asking, is it wrong as a believer to think about these people? And because I am so attached to them and they are yet dead.
Yeah.
So we were taught by the church that we're taught to demonize
Yeah.
our family members who have passed on. And this is so hard for me to accept it, because as I'm grieving, because I'm right in the middle of grieving process right now as we are chatting. What is your view on that, on demonizing people we love when they are now no more? Am I supposed to cut them off automatically in my spirit, in my soul, in my life, because they've been part of my life?
I think there's areas that I think because of your culture and the church's relationship to your culture, we have demonized that. But all that people are is a memory. Like, for instance, if I think of my grandfather who taught me so much, as I'm sitting here, I can literally hear him say stuff to me that he taught me. I can hear my grandmother that's
How
passed
many
on.
years now?
Yeah,
Passed on? How
it's
many years?
more than 5 years.
Okay.
I can hear him say certain things to me about church and lessons and certain people.
So you are from the Christian background?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So it's not that I worship them, but they're part of me. I learned lessons from them. They engage stuff with me. They are no more. And it's not as if I worship them, but they are part of my memory. They're part of the makeup. In fact, because of the lessons they taught me, without me realizing subconsciously, those things helps me determine certain things or make certain decisions. So I think we need to be careful when it comes to the conversation about ancestors, because there's a line between worshiping them and seeking them instead of having them as a healthy memory. Because we can't think of them, because we can't take them with us, we lose those elements of us. And the reality is they're part of us. I can't forget my grandmother, my grandfather passed on. I can't forget Chantal, who was our Sunday school superintendent, that I learned lessons from, and I taught her lessons and she taught me stuff about life. I can't not remember them. I cannot stop remembering those lessons. So I think that's something that we need to understand. That we're not worshiping them, but we have to remember. And when we remember, yes, we remember the good and the bad, because those are the lessons we take with us. But I think a lot about, because the church says you can't speak to them or you can't deal with them. There's unsaid stuff, or there's undealt with areas that you never get to, because I can't deal with that.
So do you visit the graves? What's your beliefs on that?
Initially, when my grandfather and grandmother passed, I think I went once or twice. It's part of our culture to go and look after the grave, in a sense, just make it nice and that. And I went once or twice on my own, because there was conversations that I had to have with him.
Okay.
And I thought that would be the best place to go and have it with him.
So do you believe that they hear you when you speak with them?
No.
Okay.
I think they're part of me. But if I speak to them, I can hear them. So I don't necessarily think they can hear me. I don't really have a theology on that. Yeah, there's people that say they can't hear you or they can hear you, and I'm not gonna be part of that shouting match. But what I believe is they are part of me. And as tangible as we sit here, I can hear them.
You know, when you said that, I'm reminded this morning I received an SMS, WhatsApp message from someone. I'm going to read it. It says, know that, or she was sending the condolences, this person, and then she said to me, know that although she is not physically here, she is here with you spiritually. It might not feel like that at the moment, but I promise you, she will send little signs during the day to remind you that although she is not here with us, she is at peace. So you said you hear their voices.
Yeah. It's not.
Okay,
it's not a. It's not an audible. Yeah, my grandfather stands and he's speaking to me, but because they're part of me, I grew up with their voice. I grew up with the things they would say right now.
Yeah.
And because of that, I am learning to take that with me. because it's a life that God blessed me with. And that life brought life into me. I would not be here if they didn't exist. So there's still elements where I would speak in different contexts within the church.
Okay.
And then people would say, I heard your grandfather when you said that. Because they know him as well. Did they see him when I was speaking? No. But that sounds similar to what he would have said.
Okay. So you sound like you say to me that the relationship is not dead. I don't know. But then the problem is to worship
Yeah.
them. So you do not worship them.
No.
But they are still part of your life.
Exactly.
That you cannot cut it off just like that
No,
and forget about.
It's impossible. How do you cut off people that taught you so much lessons and you're literally dependent on them for a season? Would it be would it not be an injustice to yourself if you just cut them off from you?
If that is possible at all.
Yeah, but I think it would be injustice, especially if they were good to you. Now, I believe that there's elements where you say, I want no part of that.
Tell us about something that you did because when we are going through pain,
Yeah,
we do
yeah,
a lot of stuff
yeah.
and we behaved like
Yes.
in strange ways.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a grandmother or grandfather when one of them
Yeah.
passed on. You just
Yeah.
couldn't
So,
shake it
so
because
Yes.
the reaction.
So I shared it last week with you that my grandmother on my mother's side and my grandfather my father's side passed on 6 weeks between each other. Now my grandfather was somebody I went to because I was learning at that stage to become a minister. I sat with him. I never had that relationship with him growing up, but as I went to study theology and was in the process of becoming a minister, I sat with him a lot speaking about church, understanding certain structures, understanding the history of why the church did certain things at different stages. So I tapped a lot into that element of him. And then my grandmother on my mother's side was my source of peace, man. She was the person I could go and sit with and say nothing and leave feeling much better.
Oh,
She was that type of person. She was one of the most peaceful people that I've ever met and I ever journeyed with. So within 6 weeks, my grandmother and grandfather was taken. And they were such a big part of my life. Then the family also expected of me to do the memorials, which in a way I regret.
Because you are a pastor.
Yeah, because I'm a pastor, I had to do that because it was an honor for me. That's what the family said, and I understand why. No issues with my family about it because that's how we grew up. If you're a minister in the family, you should have the honor to bury or to do the memorial. So I did both of them. In that process, I was still working at an organization, and what happened was, after my grandmother's funeral, I literally went, the Sunday after her funeral, I went to a camp, and I had to give again and to share and to help other people. And in that whole space, I was nowhere, emotionally, completely nowhere. What happened thereafter was, because it was undealt trauma and undealt stuff,
Because you were so busy after the funeral,
Yeah.
even during the funeral.
I never got time
Time
to
to-
deal with
Mm.
anything.
Mm.
And so I got my girlfriend pregnant.
Which is a big deal in
which
a church.
which is judgment in a huge way in the church. Now
Mm.
I'm not justifying getting my girlfriend pregnant. I'm not justifying that. What I am saying is that because of my undealt stuff with, in a way I felt this was the only thing that I could do. This is my shouting for help in a way.
So, do you think counseling is necessary? It's from a Christian's perspective, because we are dealing here with Christians
Yeah.
and African men
I think
who
I
have
think
issues with counseling.
yeah, I think counseling in general for men is is a no-go. But
Why does it make you feel? How does it make you feel?
because it feeds into the narrative that something is wrong with me.
All right.
And again, that then feeds back to me being weak.
Yeah.
And then that feeds back to me not being a man.
Wow.
So the root is actually you're
Sure.
weak if you go to for help. That's why a lot of men stop talking eventually in a relationship. They just stop talking because
Sure.
I take from your reaction that happens in your culture a lot.
Yes.
Men just get to a stage where we talk about that which we need to, but in other cases, why should I talk about that?
You just switch off
Yeah,
as men.
yeah. So, and I think
Does that help you though?
No.
How do you feel when you switch off? Like, because for me, I think it's peace of mind. Then I'm okay. Then that's how I deal with it. Then, so how do you feel when you just decide to? Okay, let's not talk about it.
no, but that again that feeds into the narrative that we are strong.
Wow.
So now you have this continuous cycle of I don't want to be weak if I speak about it, and I am strong when I don't speak about it.
Sure.
So that creates this toxic space in our society. So now men lash out in different things. So South Africa being almost the rape capital of the world, and so much abuse in homes because there's no outlet for men and for women. Let's not make
This is about men.
just about men. It's about us as individuals.
Humanity.
We find that just speaking about it is wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily, yeah, I need to be careful saying this, but counseling does not help everyone. All right, there's different platforms. So you can go to a counselor,
with
you
you.
can go to a therapist, you can go to a life coach, you can go to your pastor. But I think that the overarching thing with all of that is you have to speak about it.
I agree with you on that, because I am working with young people in general, parents
Yeah.
and everyone, families who have issues. And one of them came to me some few years ago. She was raped by an uncle, and the
Sure.
family never dealt with that. And she went for counseling sessions, but she never got help. So I agree with you when you say that counseling is not for everyone.
Yeah,
So we must not generalize this.
yeah,
And for me, even while I was still employed, there was an issue. Then the work recommended this whoever psychologist that they
Yeah.
were working with. And I tell you that second sessions, I was like, no man, this is not making any difference.
yeah. So I think there's a lot of underrated value in Christian counseling. And I think there's underrated value in seeing a life coach. But I think, as I said now, the overarching thing of all of this is you have to speak about it.
Yes, speak about it.
You
Be
have
it
to-
with counselor or friend or
Yeah.
whoever.
Yeah.
Because even if you are going for counseling, you are just going to you are the one who's going to
Exactly.
speak.
And,
The
and
information, the counselor is expecting information from you.
yeah, and I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but a lot of times when you start speaking about it, God reveals answers as you're speaking. God reveals, oh, okay, that's what I did there, and that's why I did that. Because I started speaking about
You also find
the death
answers.
of my grandfather and grandmother, because I started speaking about it, I became
Which
aware.
is what you do, counseling.
Yeah, I became aware to say, that's why I was so needy during that season.
Yeah, I agree with you, because when I heard about the passing of Akona recently,
Yeah.
I decided to keep quiet. Like I said, that I chose to isolate myself.
Yeah, yeah.
I think after few days, maybe over 5 days, and then I decided to have conversation with God about
Yeah.
it. I was like, God, let's talk about this. I'm in anguish, I'm in pain, I'm in
Yeah.
suffering, and bear in mind I'm studying and I need to submit assignments. And immediately God spoke back to me. So when you said you speak, be it you speak to God, speak to whoever you believe in, speak to your friend, speak
Yeah.
about it. And now I'm able, and I'm even shocked about myself right now, because I thought I was going to cry throughout this
Yeah.
video. But I think speaking, really there is healing, but you need to find that person or
Yeah.
those people,
Yes.
that space where you are free. And I don't think church have created space for that, because I feel like in church we just come and go and sing and leave. You don't even know what I'm going through. And I know for sure, this is not assumption.
Yeah.
I know for sure that people who are very close to you, because that's what I know about myself, and I know it's for everyone, people that are very close to us, they know nothing about our pains.
No.
Some of the pains,
No.
the struggling we're going through.
No.
People that will stay with our family members and people that loved us, they know nothing. Our parents, they know nothing about the struggles we're going through.
Yeah. And I think it's because of us being isolated, we don't get the help. I think the devil does something
Okay. To
that
isolate us.
to isolate us. And now, yeah. John 10:10, right? Devil comes to rob, to steal, and destroy. All of those things happen in isolation. We are our most weak when we're alone. You don't see the devil tempting Jesus any other time besides the time that he's alone. And so because we are isolated, he can target us.
In that corner.
And it's because of that, he robs us of joy, peace, patience. He robs us of all of these fruits of the Spirit that's supposed to be natural for us. He robs us of all of that. So then it gets to a point where I'm at this moment where I told a friend of mine the other day that I don't know when last I laughed out of my tummy.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Because of the devil coming to isolate you and putting you on your own.
To steal from you and
Yeah.
kill and destroy.
And so he kills areas of you as well. And then ultimately you destroy yourself.
Sure. The danger in isolation.
Yeah, so that man, that woman struggling on their own don't get help, and the longer they don't get help, they rip apart relationships, they rip apart their friendships, they rip apart their families, their finances, and then they ask themselves, so Noko, how did you get there? It's because we find ourselves isolated.
Last night I had a conversation with a friend, and somebody this morning also said something about that, and I was like, there is this thing about us when we are going through pain. our first reaction before it becomes so commanded? We blame God. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, very familiar.
Why do we blame God when things are not going our way? Because for me, I admit I do. I was
Yeah.
like, now, God, but why Akona, dear Lord? She is just 29. We're looking for this, for that. We're looking forward to see her doing this, and that in her life. But why her? Why do we blame God when we are going through hard times? Why is it
That
so
is a
easy
very
for us
difficult
to
question.
blame God?
I think it has two elements. And I might be very wrong. Somebody might, after watching this video, might say
That was rubbish.
that pastor's losing his mind. But I think one,
Whew.
because we know he's okay with being blamed.
Okay. Wow.
But secondly, I think it's easier to blame God than blame ourselves.
Okay, so we're shifting.
It's easier to blame other people than ourselves. Remember the Shaggy song? The It Wasn't Me song? In that music video, she catches him cheating. She has videos for it. But he says, it wasn't me. So I think that element plays a huge role. Maybe the second one greater than the first. That it's easier to say, God, you got me into this mess. Instead of saying, Lord, it was my decisions that got me into this mess. Now, it's more difficult to do when it's a situation like Akona. They're passed on without you having any influences on it. But a lot of stuff, you can directly point to an action you did. And because of that, you shift the blame. You shift it towards somebody that in our perspective is okay with it.
Do we have to blame anyone at all when things happen?
It's human need, it's human behavior.
That needs to be unlearned.
Yeah.
Because there is no healing in blaming game.
Yeah.
Because the sooner I...
But there is healing in the responsibility.
Yes.
So, do not get it twisted. Whatever you did, you have to take responsibility for it.
And some of the things, it's not stuff that we did. Then
Yeah.
what do we do?
So if it's something that you haven't done, makes it more difficult. But there is elements that you can take responsibility for, which brings back to, if I messed that specific thing up, I can, through God's grace and God's understanding and wisdom that it brings me and people's knowledge, I can fix that area of myself.
In case of death,
Yeah.
why do we blame God?
I think it's easier.
Okay.
It's shifting again. Because the reality is, let's take Akona's, if I understand it correctly, no one is to blame.
Yeah.
No one is to blame.
So,
But again, it's because we need to find somebody. There needs to be full reason for why I do so. Why that specific thing happened.
Healing impossible.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, we need to heal.
Yeah.
We need to forgive the situation, people. Because we cannot be healed if we do not forgive.
Yeah.
And the acceptance is a struggle to accept that, okay,
Exactly.
here is the situation. It happened and...
Yeah. So I think it's a process. It's natural. So we all get ourselves in all facets of our life. Alright? Because Les Brown talks about negative self-talk, and we all do that. But I think we have to get to a point where we take responsibility for the things that we did, and leave the responsibility for whatever you did not do to that person or that situation there. Because ultimately you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we have to
No,
end off, but the whole concept of the lost son,
yeah.
like, I think that is beautiful in regards to healing. He committed all of these stuff, but it's when he says, the Bible says, he came to himself,
To his senses.
came to his senses, and he says something interesting. He says, I sinned against God and against my father. So he takes
Taking
responsibility
responsibility.
of what of the situation that I'm in. But then he could say that and stay where he is, or he could decide, the guys that work on a daily basis at my father's house, they live better lives. So if I go to my father, I can at least have a better life. He did not know how his father would accept him or bring him in. He did not know there was a car for him, and he did not know there was a ring still or a robe. He did not know nothing of that. But he moved towards the place that could help me.
Yeah.
And so I think that is key to healing as well. We have to take responsibility. Healing does not happen when you don't take responsibility. But once that has happened, we have to move towards the place of healing. And that place can be, if you're on drugs, rehab, if you're you lost your job, a place where you can find work, whatever that is. But the point is, you are where you are. That is the reality. But you have to move towards better life conditions as well. So your reality is what it is. But in all facets of life, you have to work towards a better living condition. Whether that is finance, whether that's relationships, whether that is the different type of healings that you need. But the point is, you need to get to a point where that can happen.
Ooh, thank you so much. And I want to share this message I also received this morning to those who are going through the pain of losing loved ones. This person said to me, condolences to you and family. Nobu would find comfort in knowing that to be absent in the body is to be present with the Lord. Woo! That was like a light bulb in my soul. And it gave me peace. Now I'm able to remember my loved ones who have passed on in a good way.
And you can live in the liberty of they're here.
Yeah. As we are all going to die.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for your time, and please subscribe, like, and share. Keep well. Bye.